Howdy y'all, my name is Ash Redhorse from Ash Redhorse and the Midnight Suns. This is a little video project we're making for our upcoming album, Escaping Eden, and that'll be releasing on May 31st. I hope you guys enjoy. So what does it feel like to fall in love?
For me, I feel like there's something like inside my chest and it feels like it needs to explode. Like I just need to like scream or something because I have so much energy and emotion kind of like floating in my chest, you know, and it makes you just want to smile like uncontrollably. I feel like there's almost like a carelessness with the world operating around you when you are with that other person. Like you are kind of in your own little happy world, and you know, nothing on the outside of that really matters.
Love is the sense of trust and companionship that even though things change over time and there's ups and downs, I mean, you stick with it. I've noticed those to be the happiest relationships.
So we started dating, and one night when I dropped her off at her home, I was driving up to the corner, made a left turn. I was just in Columbia last week, by the way, and I took a picture of the spot. But there was a traffic light about 2 blocks down, and I was stopped at that red light, and it just came over me that I want to marry this girl, you know.
Love is a reason to live. If you're not loving a person, and or at least trying to, then you're not truly living. And even if you get hurt at the end of it, it doesn't matter because you got to experience something that is higher than any physical form that you will take. You know, it's the most beautiful feeling in the world, and it can also be the most painful.
So this part we're going to kind of move on to the more visual side of it. If you had to describe love as a color, what color would you choose?
I would say it's something like warm and like a peach color or something. It's inviting and gentle and warm.
Oh, I actually thought about this one. Well, because I thought it was funny, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna just say my favorite color. And it's like this dark blue, like Wrangler blue. Yeah, it's just like such an awesome color, yeah. But it's not always this bright, shiny, happy color. But it's like there's like this subtlety, this darkness to it that is really appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess maybe even on the flip side of that, it could be like a deep, warm color, something that kind of has a sense of mystery and darkness, like an almost dead rose that's not quite dead.
I used to think it was red, and now I think it's more of a purple.
Nice. Why is that?
I think love shouldn't be, it should be fire, and it should have fire, and it should have this bright, fierce quality, but I think most of it should be calm and, you know, on this higher spectrum of awareness. And I just feel like purple makes me feel calm. It makes me you know, just have this feeling of comfort and warmth, but also I feel so high and royal and just wonderful. I feel, you know, just, it's like a hug. It just feels like a hug.
Yeah, I was gonna say a yellow orange, like a sunset kind of, you know, going back to calmness. Yeah, I just think it's just such a bright, warm color. It's not really my favorite color, but I love a yellow orange. I think it reminds me of just relaxing on the beach or sitting in a hammock looking at a sunset, you know, or sunrise, whichever tickles your fancy.
I think I think of purple too because you wear a lot of purple.
Purple's my favorite color.
Purple is your favorite color. Yeah, I wonder if that's because of this.
Seed planted.
That's a hard one.
That I don't have an answer. There is no color out there, you know.
I can't, my mind just doesn't
They,
click on that. I mean, I guess I like the color blue, but I mean, I don't think of it in terms of love. I remember I started out in college majoring in art, and we had to draw an image of songs, popular songs at the time. And so the Supremes were really popular, and I remember I drew a picture of their song Baby Love, and it had a lot of blue in it. You know, it had the 3 stylistic images of the 3 Supreme women. And So I used blue there, so I guess blue for me.
I don't have one. I really do not have one.
Okay.
You know, moving on to the sense of taste, is there any kind of flavor or taste that you can ascribe to love? And I mean, it could be like your favorite food, like a dessert, or just something that reminds you of someone that you love, or, you know, your partner.
Like my first thing that I want to say is watermelon for some reason, because I'm also just really obsessed with watermelon. Yeah. So my love for watermelon, no, I'm just kidding. But honestly, I think that love tastes like chicken noodle soup, you know? It's that same kind of like warm thing of, you know, when your mom or whoever like made you soup when you were sick or something, you know, and you know, that's just kind of like that, something that can just make you feel so much better, like something so simple, you know.
Have you ever tried macarons, like the French? Yeah, I like them. They're really good. That's just like, that's one of my favorite desserts. I have no reasoning as to why this backs up the idea of love, but it's this feeling of happiness that I see. Like I get when I see macarons and I eat macarons. So I'm like, man, this is like the best dessert ever.
I'd say like key lime pie.
Oh my
You're a
gosh.
Florida girl.
That's so cute.
Yeah, key lime pie for sure. And it's just a gas dessert.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Even though we've never eaten it together. Not a single time, but yeah.
Probably like a cinnamon latte.
Okay.
Because we go get coffee a lot together. That's like one of our things we like to do. And we'll like just go get coffee, walk around and talk. So probably like a cinnamon latte.
Yeah. Some spicy.
Some spice.
I know one.
I know he likes
I know one
cherry
that-
pie,
I know one that she doesn't fix me that I really, really like.
banana cream
Banana
pie.
pudding.
Yeah, he'll never get
And she,
that.
she's stubborn like that. So
Yeah, I cook him 3 meals a day.
yeah, people ask me, so what? Cameron can say, what's for lunch today? I say, I don't, whatever I pull out of the bag. You know?
Now, to another somewhat silly one, we have smell. Is there like an aroma or like a, you know, some kind of thing that, you know, triggers the nose that really reminds you of someone that you loved or just love in general?
This is kind of a strange one. You know the smell that comes out of the like ducts on the outside of your house that are from your drying machine? I don't know why I'm so infatuated with that smell, but I feel like that's what love smells like. When you smell it, you kind of instantly get that like hit of dopamine, and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I just want to smell this forever. Like if I could just put a little scent blocker in front of my nose.
Yeah, lavender and lilacs. They're kind of different smells, but also similar enough. I grew up with this big lilac bush in my backyard, and I have really bad allergies, so it sucked, but really pretty, really good smelling. Made me sneeze a lot, but it was like, I don't know. It was this feeling of, especially in the like spring, summer, when it was blooming and it was like smelling nice. It was like a change of seasons sort of thing. Down to this idea of light, happiness, that sort of thing.
It can be a song, it can be, you know, a ringtone or like birds or anything like that. What sound would you say describes love to you?
There's definitely a song. This is kind of like strange, but you know the song July with Noah Cyrus and Leon Bridges? This is a very good song. Me and someone who I was very much in love with at a certain point in time used to just like sit in the car and sing with each other, and that was one that we always loved to do because there was like 2 different parts to it. And you know, even just the idea of being comfortable enough to like belch your heart out in the car with someone, singing certain songs that you both enjoy, and you're putting your whole everything you got into it, even if it sounds like shit, you know.
I love those old country songs that have like those long drawn out harmonicas. That's a good. I love thinking about love as a sound in that way, because it like, I think of like, I don't know, these old westerns of like cowboys sitting in a canyon. playing the harmonica, and it's like he's alone, but he's kind of like with nature at the same time, but he's like, he's sad, and you don't really know why, but it's just, that's easily the sound I'd pick.
Laughter.
Laughter, for sure. I was gonna say like a G chord, because like we're always playing like the piano and stuff in your living room. I always like gravitate to G for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it just sounds so good, you know? But laughter's a really good one too.
Yeah.
Because we're always laughing.
We're always laughing.
Yeah.
And like my roommates, they're so funny. They know that we're home because we'll start laughing in the room and they can hear us. And they always like pick at me for it. They're like, you're always laughing. Like you're always just in there giggling like with Patrick. And I'm like, that's, you know, it's nice. It's nice to laugh a lot.
I was in the Air National Guard, and I was at summer camp in Rhode Island the summer before we got married, and there was this one song that I thought it was our song. I considered it our song, but it wasn't long before I found out it was just my song. She could care less. But it was by Bread, and I think we can make it by Bread. You ever heard of Bread, you young guys? Bread. Anyway, so that was a song that always, I think we can make it, right? That would be in the title of it. And so for our 50th wedding anniversary,
Yeah.
I
did do
rewrote
something
that song and I sang it and recorded it and gave that to her for 50th.
At
And I
our
changed it.
50th anniversary party.
I changed it to be about us.
Mhm.
You know, I rewrote it completely, and I can't sing, but I sang it anyway.
That's all right. Everybody enjoyed it.
So when talking about like the five senses of things, you know, I like to add one more, which is just imagination. And I just kind of want to know, like, what ideally does love look like in your mind? Like, how does that kind of form, the play-by-play kind of situation happen?
It's so funny because we grow up seeing all these movies and shows, and there's this like idea that you just see somebody and you automatically fall for them, and you are just like, you know, head over heels, or maybe it's unrequited, and like eventually, you know, the people come to each other. But it always seems like it's so instantaneous, like it's just gonna happen to you out of nowhere. And I feel like I always imagined it that way, and I always kind of pictured myself being like swept up by somebody. And almost every single time, it didn't work out that way.
You know, it's the cliche idea of you're not going to find something when you're out there searching for it. It kind of just happens to you. And before you know it, you're kind of excited about life again.
My idea of love is like, yeah, like you see it in the movies, you just get swept off your feet, or like, I would imagine myself like sweeping someone else off their feet, I guess. But yeah, my template was just like, it feels so easy. It has to feel easy, and you have to know your worth. Like, and where I was at, like, I wanted to stop trying, you know, and then you came along. Like, it was pretty much the instant that I stopped trying, like, you came along and like asked me out, and I was like, wow, that's so different. Because I was envisioning myself like asking someone else out, like my template of like, I have to be the one to initiate it and do all this shit. And yeah, you completely shattered my template.
With our generation, that was the way things were, okay? You grew up, you graduated high school. If you were fortunate, you went to college, you would meet somebody and you'd get married and you'd live like your parents. That was pretty much like it was.
That's how you pictured it.
That's how you
Really?
pictured it.
But then you know.
Then you get married and you find out that it's not going to be like your parents.
It's kind of like as you date a bunch of people, she dates people, I date people, you know, and when you finally get to the point where you say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to get married. I'm just going to live my life. And about that time, she comes along.
All right, so, you know, as life moves on, you know, we live our daily lives. Is there any like little things in there that remind you of someone that you love or your partner?
Gosh, if I'm like in a park by myself, I'm always thinking about him because we hammock and we'll go like lay out a blanket and do yoga together and things like that. So like just being in nature, I think about him a lot and like just doing that. And then if I see like another couple holding hands or like, if I see somebody just out having a good time with their partner, like having an anniversary, I always think about him and just then like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see him again, even though I just saw him like 4 hours ago.
Yeah. I was thinking of like when I pop in my AirPods, because like we always share the AirPods, and I'm like, oh, I'm putting both in today. Like, damn, I wish she was here to share the AirPods.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because I like when I'm working, I always have music in or something, or like listen to an audiobook or something. But yeah, it sucks to pop in both. Gotta share the music.
This woman will, I mean, if I get ready to go, she knows I'm going on a trip. I find all of my clothes washed and ironed or whatever they have to be and in the closet. It's just something, I've never asked her to do that. She just does it. So if I'm getting ready to go on the trip, I've got everything I want to select from to put in a suitcase to go on a trip. And I didn't even notice that for years. I only noticed that like in the last year or so, actually. But then I remembered that's the way it always has been. And she gets up at 5:30 in the morning and she's got breakfast and I'm lounging around in bed, until she calls me down to eat. But in the meantime, she hops out of bed and the first thing I hear is the washing machine going. So she gets out of bed, she gets the dirty clothes, gets them in the washer and gets that started, and then she fixes breakfast and then she calls me down. But she's always got something going and she works full time, as you know. But she just takes care of me in 100 different ways, and most of the time I'm not even paying attention to even notice it.
It's just part of life.
Yeah.
But he takes care of things too, and if he forgets, I remind him.
So, going through these experiences with, your partner, do you have like a favorite memory that, comes to mind about your partner?
No, not that I'm going to repeat. That's the end of that discussion.
The one I think of, like we just went on a trip for your birthday to Frisco, and we were like laying in the bed just like listening to music on the speaker, and we were like sitting in between this big speaker that I have, and I was like, yeah, I got this song to show you. It was just so fun because we had the big speaker in between us and we were like just jamming.
That was a good moment.
Yeah, it was fun.
Think about Halloween.
Yeah.
I took him to Florida for the first time.
Yeah.
And he got to meet my family and
Kirk Pomp.
Yeah, Kirk Pomp, my dad. He got to meet my dad. And I remember there was this moment where we went to Tarpon Springs, which is it's like a sponge dock, and a lot of Greek immigrants came over and they chose Tarpon Springs because they knew how to sponge and they knew, they liked the area. It was very similar to like where they came from. So now it's this like amazing historical place. That's besides the point. I just love it and I grew up there. And I remember like I went to the bathroom and I walked out and there was like Patrick and my dad, and they were just like looking out at the water and they like weren't talking, but they were just like standing next to each other and it just looked right. It was just like, wow, like this is like a picture I could look at forever.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so I took a picture.
You have a picture?
Yeah, I have a picture. Yeah.
The first time Luann and I had a chance to get away after we started having kids, we were going to have a chance to go away we were going to go with our 2 daughters at the time. We had 2 daughters. We were going to go to Carowinds up in Charlotte.
And we had farmed the 2 girls off, one on each set of grandparents.
Yeah.
Oh, this is funny.
So we woke up in the morning and Marianne sits up in bed and throws up. And she's got one of those throw up viruses, right? But she seemed to be a little better, so we left her at our house, at my parents' house, I think.
With your mother.
Jennifer with your parents that were there, yeah. And so we're thinking, all right, we're out of here, you know, we're going to Carowinds for the day. We walked into Carowinds, we paid but got our tickets, we walked into Carowinds, and it was by that time, because it took a long time to get out, it was pushing lunch, so we said, let's grab a couple of burgers. And Luann said, let me, I need to run to the restroom while you get the burgers. I get the burgers, come out, sit down. Luann comes out of the restroom.
After a while.
She said, I am sick. And so I said, well, surely can't we go ride a couple rides? You know, I'm real thoughtful. And she said, I just got to go. She went back and threw up again. So I said, okay, I guess we got to go. So we got in the car. We had to stop. This is right at the same time.
11 times.
11 times?
11 times.
Not just on the trip to the hotel.
Oh, yes. It was every block.
She was just going constantly. So we finally get to this motel, by the way. It was just a little motel.
Hilarious.
And so finally got her settled, and her throwing up settled down. And about 8 o'clock at night, I said, I'm going to at least go up and get a good meal. They had a little restaurant right at the front of the motel. So I went up there and I sat down, and she was asleep. And I sat down and ordered a nice shrimp dinner, you know. And it was one of these things where it's like pulling a shade down, you know. I felt great. He took my order, he went to the kitchen. I was like the only one in the restaurant. And I knew I was sick that fast. And so now I just needed to let him know that I need to leave. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna get up and at least holler into the kitchen, because he was taking forever. And I go walk, as I'm approaching the kitchen, I almost pass out. And so I had to literally, to keep from fainting on the floor, I had to lie down on the floor. Here's the door to the kitchen. I had to put my feet up on the wall and just sit there and wait for him to walk through the door, you know. So sure enough, he comes out and says, I am sick. I can't eat that meal. I got to get back. I crawled down the sidewalk to our room. She was still asleep, and I went in, you know, and I start my throwing up, and I'm trying to lay down. And then finally, about 3 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up, and she is over her throwing up. So she said, I'm just really super thirsty. I need a Coke or something. Well, there was a vending machine down at the end of the sidewalk by the restaurant. And I just remember saying, okay, well, I cannot go get it for you, Luann. I really can't. She said, well, just watch me go. Well, first of all,
no, don't leave that part out. Leave that part out. Leave that part out.
It was our first weekend away, so you can imagine all the clothes she brought and lack thereof. Yeah. Anyway, so I literally crawled out the door and propped up against the door on the sidewalk and watched her. Like I could have done if anybody had grabbed her. And she went and got her Coke and came back, and I crawled back in bed, you know, and mine went until early morning hours. But that was our weekend away. When we got back, my parents and my brother and sister had gotten it.
We're throwing up.
And
her
parents and her brother had gotten it. And it just ripped through that whole family in about just a matter of 2-3 days. So, favorite memories?
Well, it's one that won't go away.
So there's one of my exes. We spontaneously went to a music festival in Florida, and I just kind of remember being in the crowd. We were like a little drunk, so you know everything's a little more heightened at that point, but I just remember kind of like being like held by him. We're in this crowd around a bunch of people listening to like really good music, and we have our best friends with us, and we took a picture that I look at is on my phone still, but I just remember looking back and being like, it doesn't really get any better than that. And I just felt so happy for like, it's not for no reason, but you know, it's like a simple type of happy that you don't get very often. You know, those moments, like, you have to cherish them in the moments, because you know, they're very special and they don't happen to everyone all the time. You know, me and one of my exes used to we used to really like rocks and just like flowers and like stuff in nature. And so me still kind of like having that curiosity about stuff, we would just have so much fun with, you know, looking at the world and making silly little ideas about, you know, the past or whatever. And so I think there's certain times where if I'm like on a walk and I see like a certain type of like flower, it would make me think like, oh, I think that person would really like that one or something, like, you know. And yeah, the singing in the car one for sure. You know, there's certain songs that just really, that I can't even really listen to anymore.
Yeah.
Because it brings this feeling of loss and sadness that is kind of, it's really uncomfortable to feel that. And so if I don't, I'm not going to do that to myself, essentially, you know, because there's songs where, you know, that person did me so poorly in the end, like, that it makes me like angry still to this day, and I cannot listen to anything by like Skizzy Mars. That was, I have 2 exes correlated with that artist, so he just, yeah, that needed to go. So that's such a powerful thing too, and I don't know if, you know, everyone experiences that. I have such a strong love for music and singing that's a really important one for me, and I tend to feel a lot with music and stuff. So I think that I correlate a lot of things with music and love and the sharing of songs together. Yeah.
I think it's really important to know how you give and how you receive this, but what is your love language?
So I guess the way I view it is like you have the love language that you give to someone and then a love language that you like to receive. The one I like to give out is like quality time. I love like going to movies and stuff, or just hanging out on the couch, or sitting playing the piano. I love giving that. I like to receive physical touch because I think that just improves the quality time and just makes the situation so much better if there is one, you know. So yeah, that'd probably be mine.
I love words of affirmation because I'm a sensitive flower, and just hearing stuff sometimes is just like, it can do so much for me. But I love giving quality time, so we're the same in that we love like spending time with one another and like making it worth, you know what I mean? Like we love making quality time. Like just,
yeah, I'm still working on the words of affirmation because I'm such a realist, and like my mind is like so logic and like straight edged, and I need to work on affirmation. But yeah, you're helping me out a lot.
Yeah, you're doing a lot better.
Yeah, I think that like when someone goes out of their way to do something for you simply because they want to, that, I love that. Because people don't need to do that, but you know, when they care and they think about you, I like that.
I think mine is physical touch, and then quality time. I don't really know why mine is physical touch, but it makes sense. Like, I love hugging my friends and stuff. I mean, this is like from a non-romantic area. Like, I love saying hi to my friends, hugging my friends, like hello, goodbye, that sort of thing. For some reason, it makes me feel more connected with them. Quality time with friends, romantic partners, family, that's really important to me too. I've really missed spending quality time with my family lately just because they live far away. And just those two, in my eyes, those are the most special.
Do you have an experience where you could kind of tell that the relationship and like the love was fleeting?
Well, me and there's this one guy that I dated we met during COVID. And so that was just a generally hard time in general. But I have never loved someone that hard in my entire life. And once I was able to go back to school, he was from Minnesota. So we were doing long distance. And it worked for a little bit, but unfortunately, like when we saw each other, it was the best. And we felt very safe and very much happy, but this individual definitely had some like separation anxieties and some lack of confidence within themselves that came out kind of nastily sometimes, like, and not even like at me, but just it just created a very negative tension sometimes. And once I started realizing that it probably wasn't going to work simply because this person was so unhappy not being able to be with me all the time. That hurt like a lot, and I clung on to it for as long as I could, selfishly, you know. But it just got to a point where, oh, I'm getting emotional. I haven't really relived this in a while. I think that you start to move on and you forget, but there's certain things that can pull you back to that. Yeah, we didn't even break up for any reason that was about our relationship other than the fact that we were long distance, and this individual finally decided that they couldn't do it anymore. And so, yeah, I thought that he was like my person, like I had found it, and I didn't think that I was ever going to find much better than that, especially with not being treated correctly in the past in terms of a relationship like that. So I think it was really hard to let go, because I really just didn't want to. And there was no reason for us to break up because of how we actually were when we were together. And so realizing that it's just like the wrong place, right time, or wrong time, but the right person, God, you just kind of hate life at that point. You're like, why? What the heck? Like, this is not fair. And yeah, so.
I've been in, like, especially my first relationship, that was like not a very good one. It was pretty toxic. The least loved, probably when I was like showing my most, like I was trying to show my best self to her, and she was just like, you're not enough, and then we ended up going like to the other side of the world, and that was probably not a good idea. But yeah, like if I like really express myself and they kind of hit me back with nothing, or kind of don't say anything, or they kind of leave, like are not present, like you were saying. Yeah, if they're not present, that's probably when I feel the least loved, because I really love feedback and constructive criticism, or criticism of any aspect. They like get like really hurtful towards me, and they like hurt my feelings, and I feel like I'm just in the relationship for the sake of it. Like I want to keep it going because I'm scared to end it. I'm scared to be alone, and yeah, for sure.
I've experienced some domestic abuse, and I think that was the hardest thing to go through, because you just want to believe that somebody has your best interests and that they truly love you. And when somebody puts their hands on you for the first time and tries to really hurt you, it takes away all of your dignity, all of your, self-worth, and it takes a long time to rebuild it. And I have. So, you get through it and you go to therapy and you do everything that you can, but it's definitely the worst thing that you can do to a person. I think it's worse than cheating. It's hurting somebody and putting your hands on them. I feel like it was harder when I was younger. I didn't know as much about myself and like what I needed in relationships. I knew what I was willing to give. I feel like I've always given a lot in relationships, but sometimes that wasn't reciprocated, and it took me a long time to have boundaries and to stand up for what I know I deserved, and I feel like once I was able to figure out what I needed in a relationship and what I deserved in a relationship, it came. And you shouldn't have to beg somebody to love you or beg somebody to give you what you need. It should just happen naturally, or it should happen with communication. So I'm definitely grateful for where I'm at now. Frontal lobe is developed, and I've figured out what I love and what I need. And he's just, always so willing to work with me and my needs and listen to me. And, even if he feels like he might be doing it all, if I tell him that there's something that I need, he will just say, okay, how can we work on this? You know, how can we get through this? And that is just irreplaceable.
Yeah, I've worked on it a lot too. Like younger Pat was just kind of like a headache, honestly. But I've tried to learn from my relationships and turn into the person I am today, because you deserve it for sure.
Thanks, you too.
What does love mean to you?
Love is just being there for each other, I guess, and not wanting to be away from each other. And I know that's how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
If one of us goes out of town and the other one's still at home, you know,
It's not good.
it's a deep
Lonely.
level of missing
Mm-hmm.
each other. That's. I
And
don't want to be.
Yeah.
I really don't want to be without her. You know.
And we instill that in the kids, because I think the kids feel the same way about their spouses. You know, they're pretty well committed.
I think that time of like discovery for yourself is like, you can find love and that's great. But you do that through your entire life. Finding love is when you're in that moment and you find love, you know? If you're discovering yourself and you find someone who it works out well, like you just are discovering yourselves at the same time and somehow you make that work together.
Some of the most intense loves I've had have been some of like the funnest times of my life, just in the way that I interact with people. I think that it's like a automatic best friend, you know, but to such a deeper level than that. It's just someone that really does kind of complete you, you know? Like, I think that all the cliches are right, and as cheesy as they sound, you know, they're phrases for a reason.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming and joining us for this.